Finally, interesting Sonic news. So, it's been a wild past couple weeks. Zippo has put out the new Sonic Ranger's name. And I have to go into the credibility of these recent Zippo leaks because I'm smelling quite a bit of cap. Also, I'm looking at a very significant post he made a while back where he shows evidence Sony is hinting at some sort of partnership with an unknown future Sonic release, likely Rangers. But I, the Sonic Show, also have a lot of evidence that SEGA and Microsoft are getting very cozy together for what looks like could be an acquisition very soon. Also, I'm gonna quickly cover the Sonic Prime Ian Flynn situation because I think some people are totally blowing it out of proportion. But first, this video is sponsored by Ace Defender. Ace Defender is an SRPG masterpiece combining turn-based RPG battle with tower-based elements, also known as a SRPG.
It has a single-player story with 40 chapters, which for my uninitiated is nearly 2,000 levels, and that's in one of multiple gameplay modes.
So, if you get bored, you'll play a different mode and be like, Brian, is this even the same game? And I say, yes. You can even speed up the game because I am 4 times smarter than the average person. So frankly, playing in anything under 4x is like slow-mo to my Neuralink enhanced brain.
It's got heroes. How many? 48 heroes. And there's 2 new heroes released every 2 weeks. Yeah, sorry to Overwatch and every other game, there's no competing.
They even have stories behind them, like the Silver Dragon Princess. What? Ace Defender lore? You can level up, combine heroes, and equip gear to create a very powerful team. Like me, I am very powerful.
And for newcomers who download the game, you get 10 Royal Recruit tickets. Wow, 10.
I have never seen a more fun-looking video game. I'm going to go uninstall Fortnite and Sonic 2 because Ace Defender, it's the last video game I'm ever gonna play. Download from my link the second you finish this video because you won't want to miss out on this SRPG and the 10 royal tickets. 10! So first, we got some Sonic Prime news, and I'm excited because this is shaping up to be one of the most interesting Sonic cartoons ever. Plus, it's the only one confirmed to have drip. So information on Netflix's Sonic Prime has been really sparse, but we just got a very divisive piece of news that I'll go into why is actually a great sign for the show. So, Sonic Stadium reported that Ian Flynn has been confirmed as consulting for Sonic Prime. So in case you don't know, I'll quickly cover who Ian Flynn is, as he has one of the highest creative roles in the Sonic IP, with him leading the very successful reboot of the Sonic comic. So he began as a writer for the Sonic Archie comics that apparently he got from sending in unsolicited proposals, which is honestly a very Chad move.
15 signs you're an alpha male.
But those comics are where some of his criticism began. Quality-wise, the Archie comics were at an all-time low before he was brought in. So when he was brought in to set the train off on a good set of tracks, he had to make what was viewed as drastic changes that I think with time, a lot of us have realized were actually really good ideas, especially since the quality instantly went up. But, as you likely didn't even know, Sonic fans are people too, which definitely shocked me, as I'm not a person. But also, people hate change. So, for some new guy to come in, game-end characters, and take the story in a drastically different direction, it makes sense that longtime viewers would initially be unhappy, but that was some time ago, so let's see where he is now. Well, after the Archie Sonic series ended, he was brought onto IDW in 2017 for their reboot of the Sonic comic, and in current day, he's essentially the Sonic lore master. Sorry, Cybershell. He even was writing a pretty successful Sonic fan comic before working at Archie called Other M. Wait a second, but his was released first, by a lot. He has written literally hundreds of Sonic comics over the years, and is probably the go-to guy to ask any question about continuity or deep-cut Sonic references. There's still some divisiveness over how the comics portray Sonic's story, a common critique being that they don't balance tone well, with it either taking itself way too seriously, or feeling like it doesn't have any real stakes. And a lot of others love that seriousness, and get bored and annoyed when it's not that. So even the best people at balancing truly can't please everyone. I love the more serious tone, especially with them having a literal zombie outbreak. But I can see how some people wouldn't like that. So maybe a dark zombie apocalypse doesn't, sound appealing. But you have to keep in mind, no matter what you think about his writing, he is just consulting, which means they'll ask him for info on continuity, story, and his opinion on ideas and stuff. So I think people saying this is doomed are absolutely wilding out. He's a consultant, and while I don't know how deeply he's involved, from what I got from their short statement, I think he'll be there to help and make sure everything lines up and hits specific beats, which is a really good sign for the project. Like, you want a good Sonic story, right? So with the fact that we know there's a multiverse with different Sonic characters, means there will be a lot of lore to handle with continuity and references. We have a good idea from the concept art that there will be a lot of Sonic references from his past, like the 90s cartoon, as all the rights are in order, with WildBrain ending up owning all the 90s cartoons. How did that happen? We even can see a reference to that Eggman's outfit with the lights in whatever Robotnik-owned city this is. So yeah, Prime News, recap I think good, you probably should too. Now let's get into the Zippo leaks, as this Sony one is mind-boggling. So first there was a big post of mostly Nintendo leaks titled, "Why the next Switch is sooner than you think," plus other rumors. And obviously the other rumors is what we'll be focusing on here, because that's where he briefly mentions the update on Ranger's name that he heard. He says it's called Sonic Frontiers. And while this lines up with another alleged playtester, I think we might all be in denial. There's been proof from the metadata, the January leak, to Sega themselves that this has been called Sonic Rangers. Now, until we see similar proof with Frontiers, I'm going to keep calling it Rangers. I know you guys like the name Frontiers more, but frankly, there's just not an equal amount of proof yet. Or really any. Love and respect to Zippo, but he isn't like a prophet of God.
I'm gonna need to see some proof first, Chief.
Some people are talking about this one 4chan leak, but it came out after Zippo's post, come on. Think! But more importantly, I'm also going to be looking at another post he made in September that I initially didn't cover, literally just because I was busy covering other news and it didn't feel significant for its own video. But now since there's corroborating info on the title and the collection he said did get announced, although he never mentioned SEU, so while he hasn't been wrong per se, everything before has been vague enough to be a possible guess. But with Frontiers, if that is announced as the new name, then he will gain thousands of social credits. I'm intrigued enough to want to hear his whole story. But first, quick, fast, smash like, subscribe, and if you don't hit the bell, you will miss out, like how Playboy Cardi missed out on the scheduled birth of his own son. Also, you know, I am the #1 source of Sonic news. So now let's get into Zippo's post. Sonic Rangers likely has a marketing deal with PlayStation. Now what? It's decently long and it's filled with a lot of info you guys won't care about. And honestly, some I think just isn't relevant. So I'm going to select the most interesting parts. Sony had strung out multiple deals with third-party companies including Capcom, Square, and Bandai Namco. We've already seen some of these deals take place at last week's showcase. One stuck out to many people though, myself included, and that was the appearance of a certain Blue Hedgehog's collectible item. Which is very interesting because I don't know what else this could be other than Sonic's ring. While it's not entirely confirming, can you name another video game character with an iconic ring like this? You know, the legendary Pac-Man ring, the Super Mario ring. Sega's next big Sonic game, which is almost confirmed to be an open world title, has likely caught the eye of Sony, and that's a big deal. Not just for Sony, but Sonic. I'll break down some reasons why. And he basically gives examples of Sony having a lot of open world titles, which I actually think doesn't add to the likeliness at all. He notes that it's a current trend in gaming overall, and with so many open world Sony games, they're looking for more variety, so I don't think this would add up. Especially with Astro Bot and Ratchet, PlayStation already has more first-party family games than Xbox by a lot, and they're literally drowning in open world games. It's really the PlayStation make a game that's not an open world or battle royale challenge. But this next part is where he goes into the marketing deal side of it. He says, when deals like this are made, companies sign over marketing rights to the company that purchased them for the particular product. Nintendo and Microsoft will not be getting any of that moolah here. Of course, they will be putting trailers of Rangers onto their social media, but that's the full extent of that. Expect many ads, features, and posts from the PlayStation blog promoting the game. It'll be marketed like a PlayStation exclusive, but it obviously isn't. Things like exclusive content for the PS4 and PS5 versions of the game. Wait, later he says there was no exclusives. and or special edition consoles are not out of the question. It's a win-win in both situations. Sega's game gets a big push from the big three, and Sony can sell consoles by marketing a huge game starring a world-renowned character. Later, he mentions PlayStation-themed ads and links to a particular one in 2019. And what's interesting about this is Sony owns a minority share of Epic, so Fortnite being predominant in this is very telling. But these are all games with some sort of exclusive status, with Crash Nitro Refueled having exclusive in-game content, so unless they did something special like this with Sonic, I don't see it. However, to give credit, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Play devil's advocate, Sonic having some exclusive levels or cosmetics or something with PlayStation is very possible. And Sony does have a long relationship with Persona's developers, Atlas, which Sega owns, but Sega also has a direct and close relationship with Microsoft, so who knows? Zippo writes, a big part of a deal like this is the games are typically announced at PlayStation events. For example, the last 4 major Resident Evil games have all been announced at Sony events. Final Fantasy has also had things like this. A big example is that the resurgence of the Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced at a State of Play, their equivalent of a Nintendo Direct. It's safe to say something like this for Sonic is also reasonably possible, which again, Final Fantasy was an exclusive, Resident Evil had like an exclusive VR with PlayStation, so unless there's some exclusivity, I don't see this happening. The PlayStation blog and YouTube will almost certainly happen, but most big releases pay for them to do that, as it's standard in this industry. They post almost every single game that releases, even updates for games, like No Man's Sky, and the YouTuber Life game. So while this might be true, I don't think it adds to the theory at all. And before I get into my thoughts, I'm going to quickly look at his update that, I'm not going to lie, I did not expect, partially because I didn't pre-read before choosing this article, but he reiterates that this is not an exclusive or a leak and says that's dumb. But he also talks about exclusive content, so obviously it's not going to be like an exclusive not coming out, but some form. Also, by the way, I could see a timed exclusive being a thing, especially when Sony's been making a lot of deals like that lately. Some examples are Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo, and a few others. Also, there is a question mark at the end. So I think we can write Ricardo off as not guilty this time. Go ahead, run along, kiddo. But for someone who prides themselves on being the intellectual video game leaker, who has the moral high ground, this is pretty unprofessional from Zippo. But I mean, I guess he is a leaker, so being unprofessional is kind of part of the job. But whatever, I'm just a dumb raccoon. Let's get into what's most important, my thoughts. So I honestly am feeling doubtful on this for a few reasons. Now, I'm agreeing with a lot of what he says in the beginning, but swap Sony with Microsoft and PlayStation with Xbox. Ironically, I listened to this PlayStation podcast called Sacred Symbols, and they've talked about how Sony's not planning many more big acquisitions, and they're definitely trying to slow down and release games. Plus, there's been talks of Sega and Microsoft making deals for some time together. Yakuza has seen major success on the Game Pass platform, and they just keep adding more. Seriously, there's so many Yakuza games on there, I can't even figure out which one I want to play. Microsoft, in the same way Sony does, needs more family games. Arguably more than Sony. Halo and Gears of War simply aren't bringing the kiddos, and this is a market they know is necessary for a family console. Plus, another point is Microsoft has made it very clear it's finally trying to break into the Japanese market, and Sega would be perfect for that. Also, Microsoft is really lenient on multi-platform releases. Sonic sells very well on Nintendo consoles, and Microsoft has made it very clear they're totally willing to give titles with history on those consoles a multi-platform release, especially third-party titles. Now, I should say, exclusive deal does not equal acquisition, so I'm not trying to equate those two, but this deal doesn't seem to benefit Sega in many ways, as if it's only financially. Microsoft will swoop in with colossal amounts of Baldy McNosehair money. So really only Sony benefits from this. Outside of their regular advertising efforts, of course. So while Zippo isn't necessarily saying Sony will acquire Sega, I'm saying I think Sega is in Microsoft's crosshairs, and they're willing to spend a lot more. However, as we recently saw, Discord turned down an allegedly $10 billion deal. $10 billion. There's so many zeros, you can't even begin. But they chose to make a partnership with Sony while staying independent. I think nobody should hope for these deals or root for sides, because it ultimately just takes away from different parts of the audience. But if Microsoft were to swoop in, this could be a promising time. After the release of Rangers, if all goes smoothly, they will be much more valuable, as they are coming back bigger than ever in a lot of ways. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Drop a like if you like, which, let's be honest, you did. Subscribe for some reason, and bell so you don't miss the most base Sonic news. Also, album as soon as the art's finished. Peace.
I'm fat like Rick Ross. Metal Gear Big Boss, yeah. Hurts out and I toss. Dripping like it's Voss. Yeah, dead channel, I'm Fred. I'm tired, I'm going to bed. I only play a whole lot of red. That bitch gave me some head.